The minister's never taxed estate. These are Bible secrets to turn a minimum wage salary into $1 million retirement. As a disclaimer, I'll say, this is not specific legal advice, but we are available for specific legal advice. The minister's never taxed estate is based on 3 fundamental principles. Number 1, distressed and discontent debtors can be turned into mighty militant millionaires and even billionaires. Number 2, a good man will leave an inheritance that'll flow down even to his children and his grandchildren. And the third foundation is that those who minister the gospel should live of the gospel. 1, distressed and discontent debtors can become mighty militant millionaires and billionaires. We can see this in the example of the men that came to David when he was exiled from Saul and from Israel. Although they were distressed, in debt, and discontent, or as one of our powerful spiritual leaders describes them, broke, busted, and disgusted, they became mighty, militant millionaires and billionaires, so that 1 Chronicles 29 verse 7 describes the gifts that they gave for the building of the temple. Gold talents, there were 5,000, which was the equivalent of about $10 billion. 10 drams of silver had an equivalence of $868,000. Silver, 10,000 talents, which is $96 million. Brass, $2,916,718.11. And 100,000 talents of iron with a value of, in today's valuation, of $306,000 for a total of over $10 billion. 2, a good man leaves an inheritance. We see this principle in Proverbs chapter 6 that tells us, learn from the ant. They accumulate for a later day when it may be needed. Now Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. If you start now, when you're young, or at least when you're younger than you're going to be, you have a chance to accumulate for the future. So the point is, start now. Number 3, those who minister the gospel should live of the gospel. It is the will of God to abundantly bless you. God has resources of blessings and provision. God rewards us according to how well we utilize his provision for us. The minister's never taxed estate is built on the same principles presented in Matthew chapter 13, verses 14 to 30, in which a good man, a king, a ruler, before he went away on his long journey, left a gift to each of 3 of his servants. After being gone for quite a long time, he came back and held his 3 servants accountable for what they did with the gift that they were given. 2 of the servants doubled the gift they were given and were rewarded abundantly. They were given the opportunity to enter into the joy of the Lord. So even though it was his money that he gave them, their acts of doubling it and being prosperous with it led to the enjoyment that the owner would enjoy himself. Then there was another servant that did nothing. We won't spend much time on him right now. Much of this world's programs are funded by tax revenues, which is great. It's what keeps the world system running. But Jesus gave an example in Matthew chapter 17, verses 25 and 26, where he asked Peter, of whom do the kings of this world take their taxes or tribute? Well, Peter answered, from others that are outside the kingdom. Jesus said, you got it right. Then, therefore, the children are able to go free, tax-free. There's something in there, a biblical principle. There's a biblical principle in there that's of great value to us. The third Bible concept is that while Joseph was presiding over the land of Egypt, he came up with a concept. while every other portion of the society was taxed on their labor, taxed on their property, etc. There was one group whose housing was provided to them free of taxes, and that group was the group of the priests. Joseph made it a law in Egypt that the priests enjoyed tax-free housing benefits. The minister's parsonage allowance, codified in our Internal Revenue Code, Section 107, says that in the case of a minister of the gospel, gross income does not include the rental value of a home furnished to him as part of his compensation, or the rental allowance paid to him as part of his compensation, to the extent that it's used by him to rent or provide a home. There are many financial advisors that will debate which is better, to tax me now on my income or tax me later. Some say, should I be taxed on my seed or taxed on my harvest? Should I not be taxed now and let my accumulation or savings grow tax-free and just pay the tax later when I may be at a lower tax bracket? When does that ever happen? When do taxes go down? Or some that say pay the tax now, get it out of the way, and then let your harvest grow and be tax-free later. Maybe that works. But nobody should debate whether tax me never. But nobody should debate the benefit of tax me never. If we could find a tax-free seed to put into a system that enables it to double and double and double and double, and then never be taxed when the harvest is received, whether it be retirement or whether one transitions on to their future reward, then we have the best of both worlds, a blessing that endures through our lifetime, and one we're able to pass down to our children's children. We're able to take a tax-free gift that was initiated by Joseph in Egypt and lasts in the United States Internal Revenue Code. We're able to find a way of doubling the gift that's left to us by our gracious benefactor, so that when we're later accountable and he says, what did you do with it? We can say, we doubled it and doubled it and doubled it. And he can say, well done, good and faithful servant. And we can find a way to leave an inheritance to our children's children. Jesus illustrated the concept of not letting anything important get away when he told the disciples to gather up the fragments of bread and put them into 12 baskets to take home. He said, gather up the fragments and don't let anything be lost. These are the principles upon which the minister's never taxed estate is built. These are the principles upon which the minister's never taxed estate is built. These are Bible secrets to turn a minimum wage salary into $1 million retirement. This is how to take an underutilized benefit that's provided in the United States Internal Revenue Code, monetize it, put it into a system for growth where you're never taxed on the receipt of the gift, never taxed on the investment or growth of that gift, and ultimately never taxed on the minister's never taxed estate is not only concepts, but includes estate planning tools, vehicles, documents, trusts, agreements that utilize existing, valid, state, local, federal laws, which are carryover from biblical concepts to legally avoid income tax, property tax, capital gains tax, required minimum distribution tax, estate tax, gift tax, and generation skipping tax. And by avoiding all 7 of those unnecessary tax, how to grow something as small as a minimum wage salary into $1 million retirement. That's the minister's never taxed estate. God bless.